Thank you for being here and also with us online for our Power by Ground training, being trained by the professionals in the industry. And before I start, I actually wanted to look into our previous week. We talked about lots and land, and we had 4 determining factors of what helps determine a lot. You can take a look at our lesson from last week, but I'll do a really quick review. We talked about boundaries. It's really important to know the boundaries of the lot. It's interesting that I've had a couple brokers, and a couple brokers send me some lots, and they just look like a triangle. So looking at a lot from its shape and its boundaries is very crucial to understand what you could truly do with it. We talked about utilities, power, water, sewer, gas, wells, septics. We talk about utilities. It's so important to know what the utilities are for that piece of lot, where they're at, how they're located, or how to gain access to that. We talked about environment. So the environmental is so crucial on every single lot. We talked about setbacks, trees, grass, water, buffer zones. That's all that has to do with environment. And then we talked about restrictions. CC&Rs, HOAs, everything that has to do with restrictions. And this is very important because a lot of people, they think that, oh, I could just build anything I want. There's county restrictions, there's city restrictions. You have restrictions on what you can do with that lot. That is what we talked about last week. Lots in dirt is one of the products that we sell. So what products do we sell as brokers? We sell land, we sell residential, and we sell commercial properties. So land is one of the properties. If you even look at the Keller Williams communities, there's ranches. There's thousands of acres of what? Of land. And there's people even in Central Oregon and Oregon as brokers, that's all what they do, is they exclusively sell land. They come from farming backgrounds, they got farmer neighbors and friends, and all of them own thousands of acres. And that's the business. They're selling ranches. When you come into city, what are you selling? City lots. You're selling some acreage lots. That's probably what most of us brokers will meet here. We'll find lots in inner city where you're going up a couple stories just to build a house. So we talked about lots. We talked about the 4 criteria that help identify and do the feasibility. Today I wanted to talk about the wisdom of the day is your need. What is your need? Why do I focus on that? It's a very strong motivator. When you get up and you need that glass of water, there's a push and a pull. When you go somewhere and you need something, that is a very strong motivator. So you have 2 ways of cultivating this in your life. Either you artificially create needs, or you're pushed and driven by needs. I would say the survival mode. And the needs is what is your motivator. So in business development, you have to artificially create needs. You cannot rely on your natural needs because your natural needs will only get you what is minimum. What is minimum required for you for the day? To get up, put some clothes on, eat a meal, and that's about it. That's why they say married people are a lot more responsible. Why? Because they have more needs. They got a wife, they got kids, they got, family, relatives. They got so many more needs to take care of. But when you're single, you got 5 times less needs to take care of. So the need factor. When you're a business owner, you have needs. They go up. Your expenses go up. You need this and that and so forth. So the needs are a push and pull that motivate you to do something. But you can create artificial needs that create this drought for the drive. They create the drought for the drive. When you're very thirsty and you're in drought, you motivate yourself to get up, get that cup, figure out how to pour that water, and drink it. It's amazing. Even my little daughter can do that. And she'll climb on the chair, she'll climb on the table, she'll get into the sink, she'll get a glass of cup, and she'll pour that water and she'll drink it. What is it? What are all those concepts? What is all that drive? It's the drive to meet the need. It's that path to your need. So what is the artificial? This is why a lot of business is a mind game. What is the artificial need that you're going to create that's going to drive you there? What is it? And that's what all of us have to ask. What is that artificial need that is going... There's another, they say, what is the why? Is also true. But meeting the need is also an aspect of a drive. One person needs something. When you need gas into your car, when you just need it, your brain thinks differently than when you don't need it. When you need to eat, your brain works differently than when you don't need to eat. And you can listen to a lot of stories when people have been lost in nature, and 3 days later, they're like, I gotta eat. You know one thing that pops into their creativity. They start to get creative. They're like, I never hunted, but I gotta catch that fish in the wherever because I have to eat. They start to get creative like true Indians. They start to mess around with sticks, with plants, whatever they have, they start to put to use to capture that fish. They look at the bear and they look at how the bear catches the fish. It doesn't matter. Like they're sitting there and they're trying to meet their need. And they put things to practice. He takes his stick and he throws it in the water. It doesn't work. He reassesses, reassesses until he captures that fish. Why? The need to eat is driving for all of this to be activated. Why is it so hard to be in business? You have to create artificial needs. Why is it so hard to be in business? You have to create these artificial needs for yourself and for other people. Do people have to buy a house today? Maybe not. But if we help create that artificial need for them, they'll probably buy a house. End of the day, it's still a better position than not having a house. And all the data and statistics and everything says that it's better to own a house than not to own a house. But a lot of people choose never to live in a home. They live in an apartment their whole life. But if you know how to help them create that artificial need, you're like, hey, the experience is better, the community is better, the schools are better, you get an equity position, the experience of your kids living in a home versus living, in like ownership, being around people who are more financially stable, all of this, you're creating these needs. You're showing them, hey, this is better. You maybe never considered it, but it is so much better to own a home than to live in a rental community. But it's the needs. The same thing goes for our businesses. We have to create the need. And you should write down and go, 1, what is number 1 need? Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I need to close 1 transaction a month. Do you have to? Probably, maybe not. But you need to. So what does it push you? It pushes into these areas. Pushes your creativity, and it pushes you to practice. You're going to try one thing, it doesn't work. You're going to try another. You're going to go read the Keller book 5 times. Why? Because you have a need now. All new brokers should go and read through all the Keller books. Why? Because you have a need. I came to Keller Williams and I read through their books. Because I have a need. I'm like, whoa, somebody built this huge company. It's international. I guess somebody knows something I don't know. I have a need. I want to figure it out. So I create an did I have to read it? No. But I created that artificial need. I said, I need to read this book. Every 5 minutes I had, every 10 minutes I had, I would open the book, read it, open the book, read it, open the book, read it. They have it in Audible too. So a lot of brokers, they come in, they don't have any needs. They have to create them because subconsciously it activates this survival mode in us, and this is when a lot of other things start to become active. Just like that person in the forest. When the survival mode kicks in, other things start to come to play. I always say if you take a person and you pin them to the floor, you'll actually really know how much strength they have, right? And people have a lot of strengths when they're in an emergency or a crisis moment. They actually sometimes don't even know that they had it. But that need that I need to live or I need to overcome this obstacle kicked in. So that's kind of our thought for the day, your immediate need. The topic I want to talk about is prospecting. It's one of our trainings that we talk in Powered by Ground. It's one of the trainings that's talked in Keller Williams. It's talked at Glover. I mean, everybody talks about prospecting. But number one, you have to eventually figure out your model. How are you going to prospect? If your database has one person, that is not enough to build your business. And I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the data, but if you have one contact, it's not enough. If you have 2 or 5, that's still not. You have to create a data and choose a model of how you're going to prospect. So if I gave you a list of motivated sellers today, I gave you a list of 100 motivated sellers, what would you do with it? What would you do with it? Would you just look at it? Would you Google them? I mean, what would you do if I gave you a list of 100 motivated sellers? And if you go through the Keller book, it talks about nurturing leads. So it says if you take 100 people, how many times do you have to reach out to them? Okay, let's say give me a number, 20, 30, 40. Yeah, 40. So 40 times you have to touch these people. How are you going to touch them? And I'm telling you, I go through this all the time because I have a database that I reach out to. But so they say you have to contact them 40 times. Is that a lot of work? Absolutely. But we go back, what's the need? You got to put transactions in your pipeline. You have to put transactions in your pipeline. So you have a model. What is your model? Is it phone? Is it you're going to visit these people? You're going to drive. I know a gentleman, he got creative. He bought FedEx envelopes, put stuff in these FedEx envelopes and left it at the people's. Like I saw a guy, a landscaping company, he took small bags, put a rock in it, put his business card, and threw it into the front door. I mean, you got to become creative. What is your model? You're going to go on social media and tag every single person on that list to your followings and then do a small video and introduce yourself to these 20 people. What is it? It doesn't matter, but you have to do it. You have to get this data, you have to choose your model, and you have to be consistent. True results come around 6 to 9 months. It's hard to make analysis within one day. Oh, it doesn't work. It's even hard for 1 week. Like if I did this training for one time, just said Powered by Ground has one training course, and it's over. What would happen? No, I wouldn't make a difference. It's not enough to cultivate anything. So consistency is crucial when you talk about prospecting. That's why they say you have to have accountability and you have to have a pusher. Probably my 3rd or 4th year, I did hire a person who I paid money. Why? Because I wanted to derive the need, the artificial need. And this person who I paid money, $1,000 a month, everybody's like, that's crazy. Yeah, but that for the $1,000 a month, this guy called me every week and we talked. And he said, how you doing? I said, bad. He's like, did you make your calls? I was like, no. Do you have your data? I said, yes. And then next week he calls. And then next week. You know why I had to talk to him? Because I paid him. I made an artificial need. If you pay me a lot of money right now, you'll be in this class every single Friday. The reason is you got to create the artificial need. You have to create something that's going to stimulate you to prospect. What is it? So you have to get your data. You have to create a database. You can get data from title companies. If you join a team inside an office like this, they probably will give you data. But the difference is between all the brokers, I would say it's 2 camps. You can find data. It's just the people who actually do it. The people who actually go out and prospect and do it every single day. That's the difference. The developers I've been working with for 5 years, I probably talk to them at least 40 times a year. They're my A players. I had a broker, not in this office, another office, call me and was like, oh, I talked to this builder. I was like, how many times? 3 times. How can I do business with him? I was like, some of my builder accounts took 6 years for me to get. 6 years. How many calls? I don't know. I stopped counting. But I just knew that, hey, I want that guy. So I'd call, couple days call, couple days call, couple days call. I don't care. No is not an answer. Remember that. In sales, no is not an answer. Doesn't mean anything. It means he just doesn't know anything about me. But once he knows something about me, he will want to use me or use our services. So prospecting is about having a model, a data, having a model, figuring out your consistency, and then working on your scripts. So when I came to train this morning, today, for you, I did not just come with a blank piece of paper. I was like, I'm going to wing it. If I just wing it every single time I train, people are going to feel that. Every meeting, even today, that I go into, I have a piece of paper and I have a pen. Why? Because I write things down. It's kind of my own script. Hey, I'm going to talk this and this and this with this builder, or this and this with this investor, or I'm going to talk about this and this and this with this seller. I write my own script, yes, because I've been in this so long, but buy samples of scripts. Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Glover, whatever. Just buy scripts and start to learn these scripts. When you go into the meeting, never come empty-handed. Derive what you're going to talk about. If I'm going to go out there right now and meet our DB, I have sometimes, or most of the time, I have something that I want to talk about. I have a pre-written script in my head. This is very important to have a pre-written script. When I talk to brokers, they say, what do you talk to builders about? Well, pre-write your own script. Go to AI. AI, what do I need to talk to builders about? It'll give you 2 pages. But pre-write a script. When I was proposing to my wife, I wrote 3 pages of scripts. Why? Because I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, if she says this, I'm going to say this. If she says this, I'm going to say this. If she says this, I'm going to say this. Got to close this thing. So I wrote it out. So you got to pre-write your script, whether mentally, whether on a piece of paper, it doesn't matter. Write your scripts. Carry them to an appointment like a doctor does. When you come into the doctor's office, this is a very good example. He takes his clipboard, and he goes, blood pressure, age. What is he doing? He's just going down his scripts. How old are you? What's your family? What's your history? What's this? Next time you come in, he's just asking the same questions. How are you? What's your temperature? What's your fever? Were you sick? I mean, they just go down the script every single time. Do they change it? No. You may say it's so boring. Yeah, but they do it every single time, and they run a whole medical industry on this. Just scripts. So what do you need to do? You need to have a binder with seller scripts. You need to have a binder for buyer scripts. You need to have a binder for, wholesale scripts. I don't care. But you have to have this binder where you meet people and you're like, how you doing? Great. One of the questions I ask a builder is, how many homes you build? Do you like high end? Do you like low end? How long have you been building for? So how'd you get into the... I have my pre-written scripts. You should have your scripts just like a doctor does or a nurse when you come into the hospital. You just come into the front desk and the front desk gal has a script. How you doing? Your name? And she's just going down a script. So people are used to this kind of interaction. So when you meet with a person or you door knock, dun dun dun, hi, just go and door knock. So what's the script? Hey, you know what? I work with a group of investors. They're always looking for properties like yours. Have you ever considered selling your home? If you haven't, great. But if you do, here's my card. I'll be back in a month. Boom. There's years we made a lot of money just in door knocking. Hey, my name is Dave Blow. I work with investors. Maybe you're in an unfortunate situation in your life. Think about it. Call us. We'd love to help you. We can offer you many options, cash, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. Just write the script. Use it 1,000 times. Hey, what happened? What's your story? I always say, that's usually my second liner. What's your story? What happened? Oh, the distress, like the distress course, anything that has to do with distress. Death, financial debt, death, whatever. We had a guy, we bought a property on an auction. During COVID, his wife died. He's a great guy, great job, just he couldn't handle it psychologically. Because he couldn't handle it, he gave up on everything. His bills, his house, his landscape, everything. Everything became a distress. Because he was working on himself. He didn't care about anything else. He lost his wife. He lost what he loved most. So, and he came by, and actually when we were renovating, he kept coming back. He just came back, and I was like, hey, everything okay? Yeah, I'm just looking at how you guys are renovating the house. He'd come back like 3 or 4 times. But what I'm saying is everybody, that's like the number 2, I would say, bestseller for me. What's your story? What's your story as a builder? What's your story as an investor? What's your story as a broker? What's your story as a lender? How'd you eventually end up to be where you're at? And people usually talk a lot about that. So your scripts, prospecting, figure out a model, figure out your data, figure out consistency, and figure out scripts. And then we're going back to what we talked about, figure out your need. If you want to close 1 transaction a month, you'll have to prospect so and so and so. If you want to close two, you'll have to prospect so and so and so. If you want to close 3, you'll have to prospect so much. And with the market slowing down, right now, you have to nurture more. Because people are taking their time to make a decision. People are not making a decision in 5 minutes now. They might take 5 days or a couple months. And you should have a script for that. You should be saying, absolutely, buying a house is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll make in your life. So it's absolutely okay if you need to take your time. See, you have to have a script for that too. But then you still call them in a week. You see, but you have to have that script. What is the need? The need will determine how much you will prospect. That is going back to goal setting, but I'm talking about your need. What is your need? And some of you who are solo brokers, I would challenge you, go on a team, get data, and pick up a model and just work it. And work how much, see for yourself how much prospecting you can truly do. If you're solo and you have the drive yourself to sustain creating this all and being accountable, then go for it. The reason I prospect, like I don't have accountability partners, but I have business development partners. And the reason I call my business developer partners is because that's how I'm accountable. So they ask me, how's your business? And then I have to tell them how I'm doing. That's an accountability. And then they ask me, how am I, or I ask them how they are doing, and they tell me how they are doing. But we're stimulating each other to keep growing and pushing each other in the business. So when you come to class here and I ask you how you're doing, you're like, no, so great. It's not to suppress you, it's to actually create this accountability within our conversation of how do we move forward from there. What do we do? How do we build the bridge, or how do we create the artificial need? You might have to live in your car a couple days so we can create that artificial need. What is the need? You have to have the need, otherwise there won't be any drive for creativity. There just won't be. It's just going to be very, very limited. So create the need, and then today is all about prospecting. Choose your model, figure out data, be consistent, understand scripts, and come back to your need. What is your need? Takeaways. Those who excel in prospecting excel in their business, period. It's prospecting equals more transactions. Transactions equals more dollar money, period. That's the formula. Prospecting equals transactions. Transactions equals dollars. So if I take your database that you have today, even those here or on camera watching this at home, I take your database and I prospect it. With the discipline that I have, I could probably derive deals from it. Yeah. So what's the difference? I could take your database and make money on your database. So now you have to start thinking, why can he make money on my database and I can't? That's the bridge that we have to build. I could probably, if I looked at other brokers' databases, I could probably derive business from their database that they don't derive. It's all back to prospecting. How good are they prospecting? What are they saying to their clients? How are they motivating? How they're stimulating the need? How are they doing the artificial need for their, and so forth. I have builders, I brought lots, and they go, we don't want to buy that lot. I was like, why not? So they gave me a couple hurdles to jump through. I was like, it's okay, let's talk about this in 5 days. They come back and I start to figure out what do I need to do to help them move into this community, into this project. And in 5 days, we sit down, we talk again. They're like, yeah, I think we can make it work. I'm like, of course we can. They're saying, how's the market? I was like, everything we built, we sold. I don't know what that means, but we don't have any inventory. Most of the builders that built stuff, they've sold through. So what I'm saying is the market needs to do what it needs to do, but we need to do what we need to do so we can be participants in this market. Any questions?